In this Dragon Dogma 2 video, I want to talk a little bit about the game and some of the hurdles that players have had historically with Dragon's Dogma to kind of better inform you of some of the things that are in store for you when you play this game so that you can have an absolutely better experience. Now, this is not a proper guide. I'm not going to be telling you go here, do this, don't do this, etc. But it's just giving you some information about some of the game's mechanics that if you're not aware of, you're going to have a very difficult time in the game, and you'd be best to come up with a strategy for them either now or when you play the game so that you can really, really enjoy it. So first of all, let me just tell you that when Dragon's Dogma 1 launched, I got the game at launch. I barely made it out of the first town. The game looked janky, the systems were convoluted, it wasn't modern. I played like 5 hours, I set it aside. Months later, when I needed something to play, I gave it another try and I made it much further into the game. I got to the capital about 15 hours or so into the game. And that's where it really clicked for me, and I fell in love with Dragon's Dogma. And I have a similar story with Dark Souls. I picked up Dark Souls, I got past the Taurus Demon after a rough start. I finally figured out where to go, went down to Lower Undeadburg, met the Capordina, and noped the fuck out of the game. And it wasn't until, a couple months later that Fex sat me down and showed me all the things about Dark Souls that I really fell in love, and it clicked for me. And this video is my attempt at trying to help you get to that point with Dragon's Dogma, or at least as much as I can in a 10-minute video. So the first thing that you need to understand is that character creation severely impacts your character in a gameplay way. We covered this in our character creation video a couple weeks ago, but the larger your character is, the more carry weight they have. And carry weight is a huge part of Dragon's Dogma. And the reason that carry weight is such an important part of Dragon's Dogma are for a couple reasons. First, you collect a lot of things when you're playing Dragon's Dogma. When you're out on the landscape and you're exploring and you're going through the open world, etc., like you're picking up lots of materials and items, etc., and you will get overloaded very, very quickly if you don't have a lot of inventory space. So that's number one. And the second thing is that your equip load is affecting your stamina in the game. So the heavier you are, the less easy it is to manage your stamina. The slower it recovers, the faster it drains when doing specific activities. So keeping and managing your equip weight becomes really important, not only from an inventory perspective and an efficiency perspective, but also from a combat perspective. Like the last thing that you want to have happen is that like you're going into combat and you're running out of stamina constantly, and you're just getting like staggered or knocked down or just getting gangbanged by enemies, and you can't do anything because you just can't manage your stamina very well. And part of that, beginning part of that, is really understanding carry weight and how to manage that. And this is further compounded by the fact that fast travel in Dragon's Dogma is extremely limited, particularly early on in the game. So you're running a lot of places that you're going. Oh, there's a quest to rescue Jim over in a cave. So you decide to head out to that cave, and you have to sprint the whole way there. And as you sprint through there, you're going to find materials to pick up. You're going to run into enemies to fight, and that's going to make you heavier, and you're going to start running out of stamina faster, and it might get harder and harder for you to manage your stamina if you weren't ready to go when you headed out on the landscape and you weren't set up ahead of time. And another thing that's a little bit of a tangent, but can also help you with this, is the pawn system of the game. A lot of times when people start Dragon's Dogma, they don't understand what the pawn system is. It's unique to Dragon's Dogma. But one of the things they don't realize is that pawns can really help you with carry weight. For instance, like if you hire a bunch of big pawns or you make your pawn huge, they can carry a lot of stuff for you that can further prevent you from being bogged down and ruining your experience by having poor stamina management. So one of the things you should really realize about pawns is potentially maybe you should be looking out for big pawns so they can help you with carry weight. But the other thing about pawns too is a lot of times people don't understand like what vocation should they make their pawn? Like what vocations of pawns should they hire? What should they do with them? Like what matches their party makeup? How do they have a good party composition with pawns? And so they get onto the landscape, they're already having problems with carry weight, and now their party is kind of messed up because they don't have a good party setup, and then you can really struggle in combat if you don't understand the system. So just imagine this scenario for a second. You head out to save Jim in the cave. You're already heavy when you headed out. Now you're getting heavier by the minute as you pick up more stuff. Start getting into fights and you're running out of stamina mid-combat, so you're taking damage. Your party's not optimized very well. So a fight ends, you're like 2/3 of the way there, etc. And you're like, you know what, I need to heal myself. pull out the food from your inventory, and what happens? It's gone bad in your inventory. While you were fighting, the food went bad for whatever reason. You rested and it went bad overnight and you didn't check before you left. Now you can't heal yourself and you're in a really bad spot. This is another mechanic that people don't understand, that things can expire in your inventory, particularly healing items, if you don't use them quickly or manage them properly. So that's another mechanic that you have to be aware of and think about, or you could be in a bad situation. So again, we're out there, we're trying to rescue Jim. We pull out our food, we don't have any to eat, we're health's low, so we don't have any choice. We continue onward, forward. We can't fast travel back to the inn in the town we just came from because we don't have a way to fast travel. So we press onward, and then what happens? It becomes nighttime. And nighttime in Dragon's Dogma, it's really hard to see. Even more and dangerous enemies come out. So now we're like below full health. We're like ways down there in health. We don't have a way to fast travel back. Even more enemies are attacking us. We're really struggling to get to this cave. And we don't really have any choice. We smash our heads trying to get through these enemies for a couple hours, and we finally get to the cave. Well, we get to the cave, we get to the end of it, and where's Jim? Oh, he's dead on the ground because it took us way too long to get to the cave, so he's dead. We failed the quest. We went all the way to that cave. We struggled to get through the enemies because we weren't prepared. Now we're in this cave. Quest's done. Didn't get anything for it, and now what? Oh, well, let's just fast travel. Wait, we can't fast travel back to the inn. We have no way of fast traveling, so now we have to run all the way through the monsters, all the way back to the inn somehow and try and make it there. And that's what your Dragon's Dogma experience can be like if you are not prepared. But wait, I'll just reload and then I'll try it again. Oh wait, the game auto saves, and now you reloaded right next to Jim's corpse. So that didn't work out for you. Now you got to head all the way back to town. There's nothing else you can do unless you want to start the game over. That is basically the epitome of what happened to me on my first playthrough and why I ended up setting the game down before I eventually fell in love with it later when I came back to it a second time. And it can happen to you. And the reason I want to make this video is because I want to prevent that from happening to you. I just want to bring awareness to the fact that there are certain systems in Dragon's Dogma that you won't find in a lot of other games, particularly open world RPGs, that if you're not prepared for, can really catch you off guard and can kind of prevent you from really falling in love with the game. One of the reasons that Dragon's Dogma has become a cult classic is because its fan base have all bonded together over having been through that trial by fire and coming out the other side. When you talk to people who love Dragon's Dogma, they've all experienced this. They've all been through it. They all know exactly what it felt like to go what you felt through. And it's a very similar feeling to the Dark Souls community. When you beat Dark Souls, you're with a group of people that went through the same trials and tribulations that you did. And it bonds you together. That's why Dragon's Dogma has such a tight community, and why the Souls community and Dragon's Dogma community are also pretty tight together, because there are similarities in that experience that you just won't find in other games in gaming. So again, you'll notice that I didn't make this into a guide. I didn't tell you, go here, don't go here, do this, don't do this. That's not what the purpose of this video is. We will have a beginner guide later on, close to the launch of the game, that explains exactly what to do to tackle some of these issues to make things easier for you. But this video is just about explaining that there are things that can really get in your way because it's such a unique RPG that you need to be aware of. So when you go in, know that these things are going to happen and be prepared for them ahead of time so that you can come up with a strategy to tackle them if you don't want to watch guides, or even maybe watch some guides on the topics. Again, we're going to have a full list of guides for this. We have a wiki, we're going to have vocation guides, pawn guides, etc. You can go in blind if you want, but just be aware that there are issues that you're going to have to tackle, and you can't just play this game like any other RPG out there. So that wraps up our video on how to enjoy Dragon's Dogma 2. The idea here is to bring you awareness of the issues of Dragon's Dogma that you're going to face as a player so that you can start formulating strategies to overcome them. And whether you need help from us, to do that, or whether you want to do it on your own, either is totally fine. But keep in mind, you will have to come up with strategies to tackle these things in order to get the full experience of Dragon's Dogma 2. So what did you guys think of Dragon's Dogma when you first played it? Did you guys experience some of these same things that I did? What was your experience? I want to hear it in the comments. Let me know in the comments below.